What's up, Lore Masters? For the past year, we've completely broken down every aspect of the Dominion War. The state that the Federation was in before it even knew of the Dominion, the genesis of the Dominion itself, the various wars in the Alpha and Beta Quadrant that came before the Dominion War, and the tensions of the Dominion Cold War. Then the actual conflict itself and how the Federation Alliance was losing at almost every stop. All of that has brought us here. Against the odds, and with it making no sense, the Federation Alliance was able to attain an energy dampener weapon and create a counter to the Breen. The tides were turning. Plot writing is something no one can stand against. Not only that, but a new warship had been assigned to Deep Space Nine, the USS Sao Paulo. It was placed under the command of Cisco and given special dispensation to be renamed to the USS Defiant. I'm glad things in DS9 never have lasting repercussions. Makes it very Voyager. Due to the Federation's extraordinary good luck, the Dominion would retreat to within the borders of Cardassian space. The Founders believing that the Federation wouldn't push the war. After all, so many had already been killed, and this is a chance to have the fighting stop. However, ironically, the Founders didn't realize how much they had changed the Federation, which was the ultimate goal, but they had pushed them in the opposite direction. Had the Dominion been dealing with the Federation before this war, they would have likely been right that Starfleet would not have pushed forward. But now, this Starfleet was very different. This was an entity that was commanded by a government that had watched almost everything that it held dear be lost, with everyone either being dead or subjugated. The Federation and Starfleet had been molded by the fires of war into something new, a militaristic type organization that was willing to end the war once and for all, even if it meant pushing that war. The Dominion would of course become more and more desperate as the war entered into the final throes. The Founders promising the Breen whatever they wanted in order to win, including Federation space when the war was won, on the Dominion side of course. Though this promise was never intended to be kept, it was just something to inspire the Breen to continue to push forward. Both sides were now primed. Starfleet, Romulan, and Klingon fleets assembled at Deep Space Nine and made their way towards the Cardassian border. Likewise, the Dominion would gather its remaining forces to stop the incoming fleet. We don't know a lot about the Battle of Cardassia. The major pieces we do know are that it began at the Cardassian border and ended at Cardassia Prime. The fighting would be at its height at the border, however, both sides throwing ships at each other. Like we see in most all confrontations, the combat degraded into basically a melee brawl. Similar to what happened at the Sacrifice of Angels, the combat effectively broke down into dozens to hundreds of smaller battles along the lines, ships grouping up in smaller flights of 3 or more to fight each other. These conflicts would shift as vessels often left one battle to assist in another. However, like we've seen in most conflicts with the Dominion War, the Dominion did force the Federation Alliance to earn every inch. At some point, the flagship of the Romulans would be destroyed, and this would cause the Romulan lines to start to crumble. In a desperate bid to ensure that the Federation Alliance doesn't meet defeat, the Defiant and 2 wings would move to assist the Romulans and restore cohesion. During this time, the remaining Starfleet and Klingon fleets would attack the middle of the Dominion line. It was determined that the Dominion lines were spread too thin, and this was the best chance to turn the tides. Intriguingly, the battles that we see are different in one way. There is one change. In previous confrontations, all ships were constantly active. From Defiant class to Galaxy, they would all be moving in combat, constantly trying to gain an edge. However, here, we observe that larger ships like the Galaxy class vessel just sit in one place, while smaller vessels fight around it. The larger vessel would be firing on enemy ships, just not moving. This effectively makes the Galaxy class an artillery vessel or base of operations. The Dominion's larger vessels would be doing exactly the same thing as well, creating little pockets. As stated, smaller vessels like fighters, the Defiant, Miranda classes, and more would dip and weave back and forth between the 2 scrimmage points. I don't know if this was done on purpose. It's probably more likely that it was just cheaper to have ships stay in one place versus making them move, but it creates an interesting situation. Towards the end of the confrontation at the Cardassian border, it did seem like the Federation Alliance was about to win. However, they would be taking massive losses for this victory. Fortunately, there would be saviors of the battle, and this would come in the form of the Cardassian military. Inspired by the Cardassian resistance, and due to being treated poorly by the Dominion, the Cardassian military completely turns on their former allies. Cardassian vessels would begin firing on Dominion and Breen ships, causing instant chaos and heavy Dominion losses. The Founder, on Cardassia, incensed by the treachery, would recall all of her forces back to Cardassia Prime and begin the complete genocide of the Cardassian people. We'll discuss more on that after this. Hey guys, if you are enjoying this, I really need your help. Please consider becoming a patron at patreon.com/lorereloaded or a YouTube member by clicking the button below. You can also send money via PayPal by going to paypal.me/reloadedstudios. YouTubers are currently being destroyed due to the coronavirus, and until the economy is back on its feet, any little bit helps. I want to thank you so much for your consideration. The Federation, ironically, would initially be reticent to continue the attack after the Dominion retreat. They had pushed the Dominion back to Cardassia. There was nowhere that the enemy could go. However, after discussion, it was determined that the Founder and Breen could continue to build up and be able to put up some form of fight. From Cardassia, somehow. I guess they would build ships on the surface and launch them and somehow be a threat to the entire Alpha and Beta quadrants, which could build ships across both quadrants and send them in from just everywhere. Though I do also wonder about the systems controlled by the Breen. Their infrastructure wasn't touched as far as I'm aware, so why isn't the Federation Alliance concerned about them? In fact, why don't the leaders of the Breen and the Founder bring that up? Funnily enough, when it comes to the Federation Alliance, we don't see the Cardassian nor the Romulan representatives' opinion on what they need to do next. This is largely due to the fact that it would cost money to pay for actors to have dialogue, so I assume that the two nations just agree with whatever everyone else does. We are going full Skyrim rules tonight, boys. The fleet would make its way to the Cardassian border. Both sides would be revving up for a fight, though due to Odo, something we'll discuss in the next video, the battle wouldn't begin or go that far if it did. The Constable would talk the Founder into surrendering and the Dominion forces standing down. I guess we don't need to see what the Breen thought about this either, so we'll just ignore that. Unfortunately, the Battle of Cardassia, both at the border and Cardassia Prime, is exceptionally disappointing from a breakdown standpoint. We are told more than we see, and the combat, while we do have some interesting visuals, though most of it is recycled from either DS9 or movies, really leaves you wanting. There are a few pieces here and there, as I stated, that are great and makes it look tense, but they're not there all that often. To be fair, this is a part of the finale episode, which included 6 different storylines, and this specific piece was really just a bridge. It wasn't the main focus. We will discuss the Dominion response and genocide of the Cardassians, as well as the ending treaty and more in the next episode. Wow, this has been a wild ride, guys, and the Dominion War series is basically my magnus opus of this channel. And it's about to be done with only 2 or 3 more videos left. That is just wild. Don't forget to rate, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you on the next Lore Reloaded.
I don't think I'll die today or next week, but someday I'm going to have to get back out in the world and take my chances on it. I have high blood pressure and I'm 52 years old, so I probably wouldn't make it. So, yep, probably will.